Yeah, it's all good. Here we go. We're live, Dion. We're live at the Elephant and Castle. Hello, folks. It's Nick from Retribe joining you today with COVID. I
Oh,
tested positive for COVID over the last couple of days. I've felt absolutely rubbish, but today I'm feeling pretty okay. I'm really looking forward to talking to Dionne today. Dionne is going to talk to us about her new career in property that she started just before the pandemic, but she transitioned from teaching and education and as a mom. So I'm just so excited to talk to you today, Dionne. How are you doing? I hope you're feeling better than I am.
yeah, and I'm sorry to hear you're feeling so ill, but no, it's lovely to be here, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
Yeah, likewise. I know we talked a few weeks ago just to kind of get to know each other, but if you don't mind, can you just introduce yourself to the community, let everybody know who you are and what you do?
Yes, sure. So my name's Dionne Barnard, and I was a former teacher. Have made the jump from full-time teaching to becoming a self-employed property business owner. So I work as an estate agent, self-employed, and yeah, just really enjoying that. And it has been a big leap, but I love property, so it's a real passion of mine. And yeah, excited to be talking to you about it today.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've spoken to quite a few people who've had this transition from um, from a job, a normal, what you would consider a normal 9 to 5, stable pension collecting, to move out of that into, I suppose, a world that is unknown to us. It takes a lot of courage to do what you've done. Um, and what, like, I suppose we can go with what was it like, why, like what brought that about, and what was it, that kind of spurred that little thing of like, oh, I want to try something different.
I mean, I've always had a passion for property, but it was sort of just before the pandemic. So I'd say about 2019, and I was just overloaded with work. So it was very overwhelming. The work-life balance, as anyone who knows working in the teaching profession, it's very hard to have a work-life balance at all. Um, and obviously as a single mum as well, it's very hard finding time for my own daughter. So I felt like I was spending so much time in school and so much time, and I had very little time for her and actually just enjoying life in general. And I sort of came across a advert while I was doing some planning. It was a property webinar, and I decided to attend it. And I was very inspired by it because I always had this impression before that you had to sort of save up lots and lots of money and to get into property, and there was only really one way of doing it. So it was a real eye opener for me that actually I could do it, and if I had that courage to make that leap. And I just decided I did want to create a better life for my daughter. So I decided to just educate myself, keep going on webinars and networking and all that sort of thing, because I wanted a different way of
Mm.
life, and I wanted to be able to enjoy life more for my daughter. And so, yes, it is very different to sort of having your stable 9 to 5 where you sort of get your wage at the end of the month, to becoming your own boss. But it's also been quite very liberating for me as well. So
Mm.
yeah, and I'm enjoying it.
I'm interested to know what made you want to get into education.
Well, I've always loved children, and teaching to me is just the best of both worlds, because you're inspiring the next generation. So you're there, and you're seeing the future politicians and scientists and
Mm.
doctors, and you're helping to shape that. And to work with children as well is always a bonus, because I find sometimes with adults, adults can be a little bit temperamental, whereas children, they're just innocent, and they come with lots of questions, and that just their minds I just find them very inspiring to work with.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned to you that my wife, I can say she's my wife now because I got married on June 1st. She's an educator, and I think that before she had children, she was thinking about going into law. And then she had children while she was in studies, and she was like, I'm going to go into education because that's going to enable me to have more, like, to manage raising children as a single mom. And she went into being a teacher, and what I noticed in her journey was that it's like she spent so much time, like looking after kids and educating children, but it's like the education system was so set up for like everyone thinks, oh, it must be so nice to be a teacher because you get all these holidays and
Yes,
you know you get and you only have to work from 8, and it's just complete and utter BS. Teachers work so much, and I see how much work she puts in now as an educator of teachers, as a university lecturer. But and for me, it's like this idea that, you know, I wanted to be a teacher too. In the late 90s, mid 90s, I was getting my degree at Winchester in English literature and history, and I was going to do a PGCE in education. And my father, who was a teacher, I wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. He had retired and moved back to England, and he said, Nick, don't do it. Like, just don't do it. And he steered me out of education and into, you know, another career in broadcasting, but which I loved. But it's almost like all these amazing people like yourself, like my partner, they want to be able to educate, but it's like their hands are tied by these systems and this bureaucracy where I truly, and in my journey too, Dionne, I think that, I don't know if this is getting into an education topic, but it seems like the children now are not given the best opportunity to learn and to flourish like they can be, because teachers are overworked and underpaid. You know, this education system is so underfinanced, and that children are almost all pigeonholed into, you need to learn mathematics, you need to learn English, you need to learn science, rather than letting children just find their own way and let them learn the way that we like a lot that we, but before us, our generations learned before us by going out and touching things and breaking things and just being children. And it seems like the education system seems like it does seem broken. I you know, now as a stepdad to 3 boys, I'm almost concerned with the fact that there are people like you who are great educators who wanted to get into it for the right reason are now leaving it because they want to provide a better lifestyle for their children. So it's kind of a sad state of affairs, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it is sad because obviously it's a real passion of mine, but like you said, it is you are really restricted in what you can do. So I went into it with this sort of ideal, like sort of feeling of, oh, I can, you know, do these types of lessons and adapt it. But you're very, very restricted in what you can actually do. And like you said, children are very much sort of pigeonholed, that one size fits all, but that's not how the world works. We don't all learn the same. We don't all have the same sort of minds and brains. So when you're sort of very restricted and you can't do what you want to do, it is quite disheartening. So I completely agree with that. It's very difficult because it's something that I still do love, and something that even with the property business, even though I'm not working with children, I like to work with families, and it's still nice to be able to sort of speak to them and tell them about different areas and what schools are really good, so I can bring my sort of knowledge of schools in that way, so and help in that way, and show the families who might have children with special needs and that sort of thing the best sort of schools to go to, because like you said, not every school does it right. So it's still nice for me that I can use that knowledge that I have got to help families who might not have any idea, because if you just look at Ofsted ratings, things like that, you're not going to get the impression of the school. And every child is very different. So one child might suit one particular school, one particular environment, but another child, it wouldn't work for them at all. So it's still nice that I can use that knowledge that I've got now to help families to make the right choices, which has been quite nice to do as well. So as much as I'm not in the teaching, I do try and sort of help now to sort of help with families with small children, or who are looking to have children, to sort of say, you know, okay, this is a good school for this, and this is a good school for this, and this area might be better because in terms of like finding the catchment areas and that sort of thing. So I'm sort of trying to still bring that teaching element to the property business as well.
Yeah, it's funny to think that people actually have to sell their houses and move into other houses just so that they can relocate to schools that they think are more suitable to their children, which I think it's an amazing luxury to be able to have. But it might be really, really challenging for other people. And you know, one of the questions that I had back to a little bit was, I bet you had to, I think we even said pay for things for your classes. You know how like
yes
yeah, and that's another
so many things. I mean down to whiteboard pens and all the sort of rewards. I always had a reward box, and so I'd buy all the rewards for that, and the stickers, and lots of resources we buy, and all, like even stuff down to like the laminating pouches, and just to make the classroom okay, because I think everyone's got this impression again that you get all these resources and you really don't. You're very limited, and if you care enough about your children and your class, and like really good teachers have that passion, so they will just put hand in their pocket. And we don't get paid that much, so you know it is sometimes a bit of a strain, but when you care enough, you'll just do it, because but it's not great that we have to do it.
Yeah, I think anyone listening to this who think that teachers have an easy ride, listen to stories like this. And I think the way to change it is to start getting on to your local MPs and the government, and to actually want to try to reform education, because it's system. I know I said it was broken, but it's a system that does need revamping, because it's been set up in all kind of these old ideologies of education. And I think that we've learned that there are children, with additional learning needs, and that one size doesn't fit all for all children. I think developing an education system that's more inclusive to everybody, to enable people to flourish, I think that's what people need to do, is start looking at MPs and people who they can vote for, who's going to try to reform that. 100%. But that's a whole other topic. I'm wondering now, like, I kind of want to jump ahead, the time thing, because I know you said you want, like, one of the things is that you found yourself spending so much time, with education, and it's a way to taking time away from your daughter. And that, I imagine that's kind of heartbreaking too, because it's something that I've seen with people, is that they spend so much time, looking after their 20 or 30 pupils at school, or more. And they're overworked, and, they're under-resourced. And then all of a sudden the home life, it's like the children, that their own children actually pay the price, because it's like, hey, mom or dad, you're looking after all these kids, can we please have some attention? The teachers are so overworked and stretched that even their home life is now being disrupted, because they can't look after, not to say look after, but they can't give as much exposure or love to their children because they're busy doing other things. So it's like this thing of like, these are my kids, but these are other people's kids, and I'm spending more time looking for other kids than my own kids.
Yeah, exactly. So 100%. It's very, very difficult, because obviously, as being a single parent as well, so it was just me, and I'm bringing home work, and I'm always stressed and just always under pressure. And she was still very young at the time, but children are not silly, and they do sense things. They know when you're not happy. So yeah, it was important for me to show her a different way of living as well, and also just about sometimes. Obviously, this has been, she's been with me the whole way through my journey, and she's my biggest supporter. So she's always been in my corner about, you can do your business, mummy, and you can do it. So it's been lovely for me to sort of show her that to go for your dreams, and sometimes you've got to take a bit of a leap of faith, but it's worth it. I think so I think it's been good as well to sort of show her that you might take one path, but doesn't necessarily mean you're stuck in that path. And no matter what age you are, if you want to follow a dream and you're passionate enough, then you can do it.
Yeah, and this is what your daughter's learning from you.
So yeah, that's what I'm hoping. She definitely, I'm showing her. So yeah,
it's almost like we try to teach children things, but if they're seeing their parent do stuff, and I think that's what I've learned too, is like kids don't learn by you telling them anything. They learn by them watching you. And for her to be able to see her mommy take these, because I think that what you said too, they feel it. They know when we're taking a risk. They know when we're getting out of our comfort zone. They know when we're trying to do something that is right, not only for us, but for the family. And I think that, and it's something that I'm learning as a stepdad, is that, the kids start to feel, they start to sense that, oh, this guy's actually here to help us. He's not here to, take mom away from me or anything like that. And it's this thing of them being able to see and feel the energy of like, this is a path of I'm just trying to do the next right thing. And I think your daughter's probably feeling that from you, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think she.
How old's your daughter?
She's 12 now.
Yeah.
And she's got special needs as well. So it's always a bit of a strain as well, because obviously some of her needs can be quite challenging to have that balance. And I feel like now, being sort of self-employed, I have that flexibility, so I'm able to just be there a little bit more and be her appointments and things like that, and just it's not such a strain, and she's sort of seeing me more relaxed as well, which has also helped with her as well, because I think a lot of my anxieties and things like that from the job that I was working previously were probably, without me even realizing, were going on to her as well, and probably not helping with her as behavior. So it's been really good for her and myself as well, just to sort of have a nicer way of living. So yeah.
I want to get into this nicer way of living because it's obviously taken a lot of courage and a lot of work to be able to establish becoming a, real estate in London, in the London area.
Yeah.
In this time, day and time where I think this is the fear. This is the thing that whenever I think about property in London, I was fortunate to have been able to purchase property in London in the late 90s
Okay.
when you kind of would go, this is like, I was buying a 2-bedroom flat in West London in Chiswick, and it was just over £100,000. And even then people are like, wow, that is a lot of money. And I think now that same flat is worth £800,000. So at that time, I could get a mortgage because I was earning £30,000 a year. So it was, within the cap of 4 times my salary, and it was doable, and I did it. Now, unfortunate for me, I didn't hold on to that property. um, Otherwise, I would be sitting quite nice with a little bit of cash. But for me to buy that same property now, I would be needing to earn over like nearly £250,000 a year. And the wage disparity between £30,000 and £250,000 has not happened over the last 25 years. So it's like, I think where I think about that is like, wow, man, can people still buy property? Is it still something that is feasible? Is it something that, because it's not that I'm scared of it, but it's almost like a subject that the numbers have become so mind boggling with regards to how property prices have gone up. Is it still something that's within people's grasp or dreams of being able to own property?
I think that's a concern for a lot of people, and I 100% agree. The early 90s and those sort of times, you could get a property for a lot cheaper than you can do nowadays. But what I think has been really great is the fact that we've seen, even throughout the pandemic, that people were still making purchases, people were still able to do things. It's just, and what's good at the moment is the government are starting to put more things in place to make it possible for people to become first-time homeowners. So yes, there are still, some challenges, but it's doable and more than people actually think it is. So places like Swinton, for example, where they're offering 100% mortgages, because they're finally starting to take into account that there are many people who are renting right now who are paying a lot more than they would do on a mortgage, and they're keeping up with their bills and they're still managing the property, so, which shows that they could get a property, but they're not able to because no one can afford to really put in the money for savings. So a lot of mortgage providers are now offering these sort of help in a way, stepping stones to make it more plausible. So we're finding that we're getting a lot more first-time buyers who are now able to do get on the property ladder, because there are things in place, because people are realistic in the fact that just because you haven't got the savings doesn't mean you won't be able to keep up with your mortgage payments at all. In fact, you would be able to, because you're already paying a lot more on your rental property. So it's more and more mortgage providers are now providing that, which is making it a lot easier for people to get onto the property ladder. So it's a gradual process, but we are getting there. And at the moment we are finding that where we've had a lot of interest rates that have gone up and things like that, things are stabilizing a lot more now, which is making it more doable. So as much as the cost of living has gone up, the government and other sort of providers are sort of taking that into account nowadays to make it easier, because they're realistic in the fact that just because you haven't got this big savings doesn't mean you're not able to keep up with repayments.
Yeah, because there's so many people out there that are paying, like, let's say, for me, for example, is that my rent was £1,560 a month in Soho in central London for a 1-bedroom flat. And that was just pre-pandemic. It's now gone up to about two and a bit thousand. It's gone up per month. But I paid that without missing a payment, sometimes early. I never had any defaults on any power or electricity or gas bills. I paid everything on time. So our mortgage, I know you're in real estate, but I'm just thinking about this question of like, are people becoming aware of, like, let's say this guy has because I know for people to get mortgages, you need to have like proof of earnings and tax returns, etc., for a couple of years. Like, will it be a point, do you think, where people can say, hey, I've been spending this part of my salary on my rent, which would be less than a mortgage for, say, £400,000 flat in this area. So, and here's my rent statements, here's everything that, like, for the last 2 years I'm on time. Like, do you think that lenders, again, I don't know if do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Is
no,
that
I completely get what you're saying.
people
I
be
mean,
able
I've
to
got a
have
lot
that
of,
evidence? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of mortgage advisor friends, and so I speak with them very often just to sort of find out, how things are going and that sort of thing. And they are saying to me that no, that yes, you can actually do that. So if you've got good credit rating, you showing that for the last sort of at least couple of years you have been paying your rent on time, and there's never been any default with it. You're in charge of all the bills and that sort of thing. Then mortgage providers are still seeing you as a really good candidate, and you are able to then get a mortgage off the back of it. So as much as people are sort of, you hear all these sort of horror stories, things like that, a lot of it is speculation, things like that. But actually speaking to a mortgage advisor, a lot of people are finding, because I've advised quite a few people to speak to, like friends of mine, and that they've then actually said, oh, actually, no, I can actually get a mortgage, which I never thought was even possible. So it's becoming more of a possibility for people who always sort of saw it as, oh, I'm not going to get there, or I've got to wait 5 or 10 years before I've saved up X amount of money. So it is becoming doable, and more first-time homeowners are coming onto the property ladder. So definitely, I would say recommend to anybody who's thinking, oh, actually, no, to think actually, if I have got a good credit rating and I am paying my rent and my bills, actually, I probably can get a mortgage. So just taking that leap of faith and just having a conversation, really, and you'd be very surprised.
Yeah, no, that's really good news to hear from people. I think that's because when I moved back to London 4 years ago, and people were saying, Nick, it's a horror show trying to buy property here now, because you have to have this and you have to have this. And it's good to know now that I think that those were almost unrealistic terms, where people were just like, man, I can't, people just aren't earning the kind of money that you need to be able to buy anything, because it's just not feasible with regards to old ways in which people would get mortgages. So that's really good news. And now, with regards to your business, I'm interested to know, you in 2019, you were okay. Listen, I'm going to take this leap of faith, and I'm going to go into becoming a real estate. How did that process go? Because you had to become qualified. Am I correct?
Yeah. So it's about in 2019, I sort of decided to go into property, but I still hadn't fully decided what I wanted to do within property. So it took a lot of training and going on lots of different boot camps and doing lots of different CPD training for me to sort of pigeonhole exactly what I wanted to do, because you can sort of be a bit like a kid in a candy shop with property, and there's so many different routes you can take. And it was only really through sort of meeting up with somebody who works within Keller Williams that gave me that sort of pinpoint focus with actually, no, estate agency is something I'd like to do. And I think it's more because of experience I had had with estate agents in the past, which hadn't always been very positive. And my mum, for example, as well, who recently sold her house, and it wasn't the best of experiences. And it was something that I was like, actually, I want to do something different to that. I want to show a different way of doing things, where it can be a little bit more honest, and you can just be a nicer process. And I wanted to offer a service where it was more accessible. So I look at friends with people who've got like mental health issues like anxiety and or might have learning difficulties which are quite mild, and they wanted to get on the property ladder, but they didn't feel that it was very approachable to them or very accessible to them. And it gave me the idea that I wanted to actually offer a service that was accessible and was a bit more approachable, that could appeal to people from all walks of life, rather than people feeling that they had to sort of fit into a certain box and then they could walk into a estate agency. I wanted to be that service that could be for anybody, and you could feel that you could walk in there and just approach me, and I could help you through the whole process, and not you could see you as just a fee, but actually as a person who actually genuinely cares, and offers more of a tailored service. Because just like we said before with children, not one size doesn't fit all. All adults are very different. We're all coming from different experiences. We all have different ways of doing things. And it was just, actually, I wanted to offer that service that I didn't feel that I ever got. And just someone that was just actually understood and tailored it around myself. So that's how it sort of came about. It was from that sort of bad experiences, and also from speaking with different estate agents as well. And just sort of thinking that actually I feel like I could do this a little bit better,
Mm.
and I could just be that go-to person, rather than feeling like they had to buy anything or do anything. If they just wanted to come and wanted a bit of advice, or they just wanted to just ask a question, or they wanted a bit, a referral to somebody, they a recommendation, just without feeling that they had to jump through hoops or be this suited and booted person to walk into my establishment. Just
Mm-hmm.
coming as you are, and telling me sort of what you require, what you'd like, and what your dreams are property wise, and me just sort of talking to you as a person, and just trying to guide you and refer you to whoever you needed to really speak to, and just being that service that, like I said, that I didn't feel that I ever really got.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Like the real estate agent typical thing was like someone who's quite schmoozy and suited and booted, and like the Foxtons kind of era too. Every that came in, all their offices were done up in a certain way to do a certain thing. And obviously, I don't know if you have Netflix or if you watch Selling Sunset, but then we have that kind of idea, which is just nuts. But this is the idea of what we see about people selling property, and it's not really it doesn't never seem to be a real human approach. It always seems to be that it was quite transactional. It's like getting in many people in to see a property and trying to sell it to the highest bidder, and always like the person was the commodity, rather than like the person was the means to make a dollar or a pound, rather than I'm actually going to try to help this person find a dream home or their safe space. And I like, as you said, that people with needs, they need a safe space. And why have they got to be, again, pigeonholed into you're a buyer or you're a seller? That's it. Can't you be a person who with dreams of aspirations of owning a property, and then you being able to provide your services? So I love how you're saying that you want to kind of tailor, make it a human approach.
More personalized, and just to the actual person. So that's what's important to me. It's not about having the most amount of numbers and that sort of thing. It really was, and it still is, something that I wanted to do, where it was just like I wanted to be that go-to person, that person that you felt that you could contact, and just actually just talk about what sort of journey you've taken to get to where you are right now, and what you'd like to achieve, and we can try and work together and actually go on the journey together and build that relationship, because that's what's really important to me. So yeah.
So how, so from the high street real estate agent office, to where we are today, how has the business changed so much? Is it becoming more online? Do people still go into high street offices? Where do you find yourself? Like, are you more online? How does your business work too? Like, do people come to you to buy property, and do they come to you to put their property on the market?
Yeah. So in terms of high street agencies, they're still on the high street. There's now, because of COVID, a lot have gone online as well. So they sort of have the both. Where I sit is I am mainly based online, but I do have an office as well that I have use of. But I find is that I try to do it more around the person. So we meet at the client's home, or if they prefer in the office. So I can have that flexibility. So depending on what suits them. If someone prefers mainly to have it where we may communicate mainly through WhatsApp or on Zoom, or however they feel that is more comfortable for them. So I think what's different with myself is that it's not just like, oh, it has to be here, we have to meet in this office. It really is what's comfortable for you, what works for you, and then I will then work around that person, as opposed to me putting on what's good for me, and you sort of follow along. So in terms of the high street agencies, they're still around, and they'll be around for many years to come. And many people that would suit, but not everybody it would suit as well. And where we're finding now, where people are working more from home, and people are sort of, their work life has changed dramatically since the pandemic. It's just having that flexibility that not everyone would be able to provide. So just I think it's important.
Yeah. And I asked too, like, so how do people find out about you if they want to either buy a property or sell a property? Like, how much time do you spend marketing yourself and getting yourself out there, and how do you do it?
So at the moment I'm on the main free social media website. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram as well. So I try and put out at least sort of 2 to 3 posts a week, sort of just telling people about like the different market updates, what's going on in the local area, what homes are selling for. I also do a lot of door-to-door knocking. So I try to sort of, what I'm doing at the moment is just really being very hyper local. So very sticking to my local area of Chadwell Heath, and going out, just meeting different residents, just giving them little updates, handing out my flyers, that sort of thing. So I do a lot of door-to-door, also like with my daughter's school, I do a lot of fundraising with that as well. So just very hyper local at the moment, lots of community groups, and I'm also obviously online, so doing my reels and things like that, just telling people different like little tips and that sort of thing. And I've got my website, which is through Keller Williams. So because I'm partnered with Keller Williams, which really helps as well, I'm also advertised on their website as well. So if someone was to type in an agent in like my postcode, I would come up as their local agent, and then they could just then contact me as well.
Right. So it is this kind of thing of like when people go on to a new business, like how much time do I spend actually doing the part that I love, and how much time do I spend with the admin and with the sales and the marketing? And you know, they're not, you know, are you good at sales and marketing? Is it something in you? Is it something you like to do, or is it something you just say this is a means to an end?
So sales and marketing, I think it was out of my comfort zone when I first started. So it has been a lot of me having to really sort of get used to it, because it's not necessarily something that was always in my comfort. But as I've sort of grown with it, and as I've done a lot of more training, and the more I feel like I learn, the more confident I get with it as well. And a lot of it is just learning on the as you go as well. So the more doors you knock, the more confident you become, and the better your conversations are as well. So it's just been when I first sort of started like sort of properly with the door store knocking last year, you have your sort of what's it called, reservations about, oh gosh, knocking. But I think now it's just becoming more sort of second nature. So I don't sort of see it as anything. I see it more as like, well, I'm going to have a little conversation. If the person's not interested, fair enough, that's fine. I'm just thanking them for their time. But if they are, then it's really great. We have a good conversation, and we just sort of take it from there, really. So seeing it less as, oh gosh, I've got to go and do so many door knocks a day, to actually, I'm going out and have like maybe 20 to 30 conversations a day, going to just go around my local area and just sort of tell people what I know really about the roads and what's going on around them, and treating it more like just a nice conversation, I think has helped. But it's a process, but definitely, yeah, I'm finding it a lot better now. And in terms of sort of balancing with the marketing, again, it's all learning curves. It's just getting used to managing yourself, and just sort of dedicating a certain amount of time. So I dedicate my time in the mornings trying to do my social media, and then I'll sort of have a certain time in the daytime when I sort of say I'm going to go out and sort of do my door knocking and sort of go out and canvass and the area, and just keeping a balance. And then at a certain time I'll sort of be looking at my sort of like cash flow and just making sure I'm keeping on top of my numbers and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a learning thing, and eventually I do want to get someone to maybe join the team, another employee, as we sort of expand, to sort of take off the load a little bit. But for now, I think it's just, I'm very good at, I think the teaching side has definitely helped in terms of organising myself. So I'm quite good at just being able to sort of organise my day, try to, as best as I can, to stick to what I've said I'm going to do for the day. Obviously, you're going to have your days where things don't go as planned because life happens, but just trying to, as much as I can, keep it very consistent. So people are seeing me as a consistent face, and people start to recognise me in the local area, because if I do that, then I'm then finding I'm getting referrals from people. So that will then help to then expand myself as well. So yeah, it's a process, but I'm enjoying it, definitely.
Yeah. In general, what are people like when you either knock on the door or ring their doorbell?
You know, in general, people are quite positive. It's been quite nice, actually. I think I initially thought, oh gosh, I'm going to get some really rude people, and obviously you are going to get some people who aren't always the nicest. But generally, I found people are actually quite pleasant, and even if they're not necessarily interested in buying or selling or letting, they'll still be interested to have a conversation, because people like to know how much their home's worth, even if it's just out of just curiosity. So yeah, so far I'd say about 80% of the time people have been quite nice to me. So yeah, fingers crossed it
That's
stays
nice.
that way. But yeah, that's been quite positive.
I think in general, people are good. People are
Yeah,
good.
no, in general, people are good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So from anybody listening to this, they're going to be either here talking about, they're either going to be thinking to themselves, I'm inspired or interested in, Dionne's journey from the transfer of career, or they're going to start being a little bit inquisitive about their property. So as we kind of wrap up our little 45-minute talk, what would be your top tips to someone who's like, oh, do you know what? I'm in education. I'm like Dionne. I'm a little bit disillusioned with how it's going. I want to know, I get that she had to take this leap of faith, but what has it really felt like? And also they're going to want to know, like, maybe numbers, like, is this a good living? Like, is it better than teaching? Is it, where can it go? So what would you say to somebody who's a little bit curious about, do you know what, I'm going to kind of, I suppose you can't dip a toe in it. You got to kind of jump both feet into, like, I'm going to go into real estate now. But what would be the things that you would say to either encourage or discourage? I suppose it would be encourage them to look at, changing careers.
I would say to educate yourself first of all about it. But I would say if you're passionate enough about anything and you really are determined to make it a success, then you can do that. I think never feel trapped in a career, and never, because what's good with, for example, with teaching, for example, you can always go back to it. So I think you don't know unless you try. And I sort of realised that as well. And I think you can, in some senses, dip your toe in, because you could even sort of say, okay, I'm going to do maybe a little bit of supply, or I'm going to do a bit of tutoring on the side, just until I build myself up, which is what I did as well. So I would definitely say to go for it. Sort of research as much as you can, find something that suits you, because there's so many different avenues and paths that you can go into. So I would recommend things like networking events where you can meet lots of different people and just find out about different things and find something that suits you. And then definitely, if you're not fully sure, then dip your toe in, do something on the side while you're building it up. And then when you get to a certain point, which is where I'm at now, where I can sort of move away from the teaching, because what I wanted to get to was at least where I was at a point where I was earning the same or just a bit more than what I was earning as a teacher, then you can sort of say, step away from it fully. But until you've sort of got to that point, there's nothing wrong with you just having something on the side, but still pursuing your dream, because life is too short. And if you don't go for it, you're never going to know. And it's too short for you to not enjoy life as well. And you want to be able to, I want to be able to sort of have something that I could leave a bit of a legacy as well for my daughters. And so even if you're not a parent, but if you are a parent, even more so, you want to be able to sort of leave something behind for them as well, and create something that you're proud of. And with property, there's so many different paths that you can take. Don't ever think you have to have a certain amount of money, because you really don't. What you just need to have is that willpower, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. You are going to go through your ups and downs, as anyone who's self-employed will tell you. It's not all roses in the beginning, and you are going to have times where you're like, oh, have I made the right choice? Which I've had many times, but I've just kept on with it, because I know that every stepping stone that I've done has led me to where I am now. And if I keep building on that, then it will just keep growing and growing. And if I don't succeed, or it suddenly was to go a certain way, that I can always go back to what I went to, but at least I know that I tried. So that's the main thing I would say.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I think that's the message, is that you've said so eloquently, is it just to try, and you get out of something what you put into it. Yeah. I think that anybody who goes, oh, do you know, I'm going to try to move my life. And I'm in this kind of predicament too right now, where it's like, I would love to move most of my life online, so that it gives me the freedom, to move around, to do, to pick my own hours, etc. And it's this thing of like, a lot of people are trying to do it. So it's a very crowded market, but it's doable if I put the time in to do it. And I think that's the thing, is like, everything is doable. You just need to put a lot of work into it, and you can make it. And you're always going to have those moments of oh, have I done the right thing? Or, but this resolve and resilience building thing that us humans do have, these amazing traits of being able to push through and keep going, can reap amazing rewards. And it's one, obviously now you're coming into a little bit where, yeah, I'm interested to know what would the future be like for you? What, like, you want to create a legacy for your daughter, you know, so to get there, what are the next few years looking like for you with regards to your business and how it's going?
So the sort of long-term goal is eventually to, I'd love to get into actually commercial conversions as well. So actually acquiring commercial properties, building them up into flats or houses and selling them on. So I will still have the estate agency business, but I'd like for it eventually in the next couple of years for it to basically almost run itself. So to have a team on board who follow the same values as myself, who can, you know, keep that going, so I can also then start to build a bit of a portfolio for myself as well. So in terms of property, the possibilities are endless, and I do plan to sort of keep building. And I've got a lot of project manager friends and things like that I want to work alongside. So it's just building a certain amount of money so that I can then eventually get into having my own portfolio as well as having the business as well. So just keep building really, and really sky's the limit. I'm a very, what's it called? Very determined person, and I never get very too complacent. So I always trying to get to and push and keep, you know, expanding and keep trying to build myself. So with the business, I want it to have the same values, and it's definitely going to always have that same approachable and inclusive approach, but just also having my own portfolio as well is the dream.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love what you're doing. I love your story and your journey, and you are inspirational. How you've been brave. You are brave to be able to do what you've done and to go out of that comfort zone of teaching profession to start what you've started, and also for your daughter to be able to feel all that beautiful energy from you. So, Dionne, I think you're an amazing lady and really inspirational to a lot of people. So, you know, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today. Yeah, these sometimes I like the 45 minutes it's a cutoff time, but I wish we could go on a little bit longer. Maybe we'll get you on again in a year or so for a little catch up and see how you guys have been doing. But up until then, Dionne, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks everybody at the Elephant Castle for joining us too. Don't forget you can join me next week for another Retribe Live. Until then, it's bye for now.
Thank you.